May the long time sun shine upon you, all surround you, and the pure light within you. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. May the Lord.
Let's do. Good morning, Unity of Sarasota. So glad you're a part of our service today. Some faces I haven't seen in a while. Hello, Pam. And I'm bringing up with me on stage M.K. Mueller. This beautiful M.K. is going to sing with me on a Charlie Tweet song called I See God in Every Moment. I see God in every moment as I stand within this light, and there's an ever newness rising to an ever greater height. But won't you join me on this journey to rise your greater self, and we will fly away together into healing, into health, to our healing. I see God in every moment. I see God in every moment. Oh, I feel God in every moment. Though I'm standing in the dark, and there's a struggle in me stirring, that's trying to find some part of life that ties it all together, making real some deeper truth. We can dive into our freedom, into me, into you, into our freedom. I feel God in every moment.
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 I see God in every moment as I stand within this light, and there's a newness in me rising to an ever greater height. So won't you join me on this journey, rising to your greater self? We will fly away together into healing, into health, into our healing. Let's sing it together. Ready? I see God in every moment.
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 I see God.
You don't have to just see, but feel it. I feel God in every moment.
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 I feel God right now.
I feel God.
I feel God right now.
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 I feel God
Right now.
I see God in every moment, which kind of means I think I see God in all of you as well. So I'm Bruce McLaughlin, and I welcome you to Unity of Sarasota, where there is always something good happening. And you guys bring more and more good to us, and we welcome it. So I'd like to have you guys repeat with me our opening slide. Unity of light and love, opening minds, touching hearts, and transforming lives. Okay, there's not a slide, but I'm going to read this. We are an inclusive spiritual community that embraces empowering and life-affirming practical spirituality for richer living right now. We join with Unity worldwide in creating a world that works for all. Wherever you are in your spiritual journey, we are welcoming you to join us. This week I read a couple quotes, and I thought when I get up here I see all these smiling faces. And one quote I read is that every time you smile at someone, it's an action of love, a gift to that person, a beautiful thing. That was a quote from Mother Teresa. Another quote that I read is that the worst kind of poverty is loneliness and feeling unloved. So I often feel like our smiles to others get rid of that loneliness and make people feel loved, so it takes people out of the worst kind of poverty, and that's what we're here for. So next on the agenda, we're going to welcome our guests. So if you're here for the first time, we would like you to stand and remain standing. We have a couple gifts for you. One is a shell necklace, a shell lei, and Scott is our board member on duty today. He will give this to you. There is also an information packet. If you will fill it out and leave it with us, we'll know more about you. And of course, anytime you have any questions about Unity, all you have to do is call, and I'm sure there's always someone that can answer your questions. The shell necklace, or shell lei, it's many shells on a string, and like us individuals, every shell is totally unique in its own way, like we are, but the shells are held together by a string that we think of as love, our commonness, and the things that we love about each other. So that's what the shell lei represents. And, I need to ask you guys, where are you from? Unity of Tucson, Arizona.
Chicago.
Pardon me?
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. I'm from Indy, so I came up to see you guys a lot. So welcome to our church. Thank you very much. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is welcome the children. Are there children here today? We don't see any children today, but to the children of the world, we're going to say this: we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we see the living Spirit in you. Okay, couple things I'll announce. I call this the ad part of the service, but things that are going on. The happiness process, it's 8 steps to living your best life. Author M.K. Mueller has been teaching a recipe for happiness for 25 years. Come join her to discover what the happiest among us have always known. And that will be on June 3rd at 9 a.m. to noon. Don't miss the Sarasota Youth Symphony Orchestra. And I believe Peg was going to come up and say something about this.
Thanks, Bruce. So some of you were here last week and I talked about it, but repetition is the key to learning, as Reverend Susie used to say. So we have a wonderful opportunity. The Youth Symphony of Sarasota Orchestra comes once a year, and they apply. They are very talented individuals who come from all over the world, and they have very talented teachers that are from the Sarasota Orchestra who work with them over that period of, I believe it's a month. And we have the opportunity for them to come and play for us on the services on June 11th and June 18th. And in gratitude, we have a big picnic for them at Siesta Beach at 5 o'clock on the 18th. We would welcome you all to get to see me and volunteer to help. We have many, many different opportunities that at the picnic, bringing things there, baking, driving some of the youth, and we need many people. As my mother-in-law used to say, many hands make light work. So I need you for whatever amount of time you could give on the 18th for sure. I think we have a couple of volunteers who have said they would drive the students to and from the Hyatt on the 11th and the 18th. But for the picnic, I need plenty more. You won't regret it. And the bonus is we get tickets. They give us tickets for several of the shows, and if you volunteer, you get tickets to whichever show you think you could come to. So see me, and I'll give you more details. Thank you.
I've seen some of these kids perform before, and their music is pretty incredible. Their attitudes are incredible. when I think they're the future of our world, makes me really happy and gives me a whole lot of hope, so that's good. Next Father's Day will be June 18th, okay. We're having a Father's Day barbecue after service. As you can see, hamburgers, hot dogs, things are provided, but you all can bring something. It'll be a potluck dish to share. It will be a fun time, and we're going to have fun doing it. All aboard the Friday Night Spirit Express. We do this, is it one Friday night a month? 3, okay. Artist of the Month. Is our Artist of the Month here?
No, Daniela's not here. She's not.
Oh, she's not here today,
She was
okay.
here last week.
Okay. Danielle Goulart is the Artist of the Month, and her art is displayed in the church, and I think it'll be here for a month. Next, volunteers can earn here too. So if you want to volunteer for Unity, please see Ginger Wilson about this, or Amy. And some of the volunteer things that we can do, you can actually earn money doing it. We're always in need of volunteers no matter what. And when you volunteer, you end up having a whole lot of fun with the other people. So I encourage everyone to do that. Tim in the audio booth, we need volunteers to do that. Hey, Tim. If you have any interest at all in that, sign up. They got the sign-up sheet they're waving at me. I've done it before in my old Unity church, and it's kind of fun. And you learn a lot about it, too. So if you have any interest in that, see Tim, and he will teach you a lot about it, and it'll be a good thing to do.
And one of the announcements that got skipped over, I want to bring attention to it because it's really a great evening. I have yet to go, but I keep intending on doing it. It's the Cheryl Chaffee's Kirtan evening. That's the one coming next this Friday. Let's all sing the Unity song together. Every prayer is answered. Every prayer is heard. Every thought and feeling, every spoken word, what your soul has longed for, what your heart can feel, is already here, is already real. There is no one out there, there is no one else. You hold all the answers deep inside yourself. There's a voice that whispers, there's no you, no me. There's just one, there's just unity. One power, one presence, one light to lead the way. All loving, all knowing, that answers when you pray. When the world looks darkest and your eyes can't see, gather all your troubles, give them all to me. I am always with you, I will always be. I am one, I am unity. We are one, we are unity.
If you guys will all repeat this with me, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God, who is perfect life, perfect intelligence, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God. You are an individualized expression of God. We are individualized expressions of God.
For this beautiful song, I love to do simple gestures, so I'll just go over those with you. You are the face of God.
Wait. Am I in the wrong key? There we go.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Let's do that together. Here we go. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love. Let's go, God. You are the face of God.
The face of God.
I hold you in my heart.
I hold you in my heart.
You are a part of me.
You are a part of me.
You are the face of God.
You are the face of God.
You are the face of love.
You are the face of love.
I hold you in my heart.
I hold you in my heart.
You are my family.
You are my family.
You are the face of love.
You are the face of God.
You are the face of love.
I hold you in my heart.
I hold you in my heart.
You are a part of me.
You are a part of me.
You are the face of God.
You are the face of God.
You are the face of love.
You are the face of love.
I hold you in my heart.
I hold you in my heart.
You are my family.
You are my family.
You are the face of God.
You are the face of love.
So our core value affirmation, which I'm going to read, we heal false beliefs and reveal our wholeness and oneness through the practices of visioning, catching God's vision, meditation, affirmative prayer, spiritual study, giving of time, talent, and treasure, sacred service, and more. Thank you. And now our wonderful minister, Miss Betty. I'm glad I precede her because she's a hard act to follow.
There is no greater love than one who lays down one's life for one's friends. So today, we celebrate and memorialize and honor all those many military people who, men and women, over the years served us, went out to protect us, who showed courage and extended their service and made great sacrifices. And so there were several millions of those men and women who lost their lives in the various engagements and wars that we've had since the beginning of our country. And then many others who are still missing in action in foreign countries. And many wounded in action who came back home and continued to struggle and deal with both physical and emotional issues. There were others who have died during their military service in non-combat, in accidents, helicopter crashes, plane crashes, and increasing suicides in this day. And so our hearts go out to them, and we send love to the families of those loved ones, all of those men and women. And so we would like to really recognize the families of anyone who today is remembering with great honor loved ones who may have been in those situations. So if you would stand, we would like to bless you. If you would stand as a family member who has someone in their life who has passed on as a result of their service. And so you know the unity blessing. It is, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. So are you ready to support these beautiful people who have stood now? And we say, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. And we keep you in our hearts. Thank you. And then there are those who are veterans or currently serving in the military. Do we have any of those that we can honor and celebrate today? Yay! You are touching our hearts, and we send you love, each and every one of you, for your service, for your courage, for your sacrifice, and for your family's sacrifice. We know. So tomorrow we're going to see, probably on television, or some of us even in person, a lot of ceremonial kinds of celebrations, parades and speeches and grave sites and flowers. And as you do experience that tomorrow, let's be sure to open our hearts even wider and continue to remember these three words, that these amazing souls have offered their courage and their service and their sacrifice. And this is the meaning, the true meaning of Memorial Day and this weekend. And this actual national holiday dates way back to the Civil War, which even today stands as the bloodiest, most violent conflict, with over 500,000 lives lost in the Civil War. And there's a story that may have inspired Memorial Day as we see it today. right after the Civil War, they had what they called Decoration Day. And they would go out, the families of those and others who wanted to honor the Civil War soldiers. And there's a story of a mother who was in one of the cemeteries in Lynchburg, Virginia. She was placing flowers on the graves of her 2 sons who had fought in what they called, in the Southland. And so she put those flowers out. And then she noticed a couple of mounds of just graves that were not marked over in a corner of the cemetery. And she took a couple of flowers and moved over to that area and put those down. And the people around her looked at her and said, "What are you doing? Those are Union soldiers. Don't put those flowers on those graves." And she said, "I'm a mother of 2 beautiful souls. And somewhere in the north is a grieving mother, a family who is missing their children. And so we want to honor them as well." And so that was a beautiful story that some of the politicians may have heard and set up this idea of having a national holiday. And so this is a holiday where we can be inspired by the lessons of all those who served in our military. And we teach peace in Unity, and our spiritual path is peace. We have to just keep working on raising our consciousness of peace so that we're helping to send out those vibrations into the, we call it the noosphere, the human thought cloud around the world. As we work on peace within, we're actually contributing to raising up the consciousness of humankind so that war will be no more, that won't be even something maybe in generations from now that exist in our experience as the human family. Let's hold that vision for a world of peace. And I'm going to share with you some stories now that I think can be inspirational to our own spiritual path, because courage and service and sacrifice are all part of the human experience. And we can walk through those circumstances that require courage and service and sacrifice with understanding that we too have that power to overcome very, very difficult circumstances. And so I wonder if any of you have seen that movie Hacksaw Ridge that was out about, it's about a 7-year-old film. And I don't like war movies, but I actually think we need to see them, because the message usually is the futileness of war. The message is important to get. And just burying our head in the sand and saying it doesn't happen isn't really helpful. We need to see what our men and women are experiencing, I think, so that we can understand at a deeper level how we need to work together to raise up in consciousness. Well, this movie was about an experience in World War II when they were still drafting people into the Army, and a young man named Desmond Doss, who was one of the early pacifists, the conscientious objectors, got drafted. And he got his telegram to say he was going to have to report for duty. He was very strong physically, but he was also very spiritual. And he refused to carry a rifle, and also his Sabbath was on Saturday, so he had some requirements that if he was going to join. But he wanted to serve. He wanted to serve. He had that will to serve and wanted to be in the medic corps so he could serve in that way to the men in his group. So he went off to basic training, and because of his beliefs, he was harassed and teased and ostracized by his fellow soldiers. And even his superior, his captain, actually court-martialed him and took him to court, trying to get him out of his group because he didn't want to take him into battle, that he wouldn't carry a rifle. He would not be trained on weaponry. And it went through the courts, and PFC Doss won the right to serve still as a conscientious objector, but to be a medic. And so he got trained as a medic, and he went on to serve there in Okinawa, when they went to Okinawa. And in the movie, you get a real feel for that battlefield, because they arrived and there was a steep, rigid cliff they had to climb up. And I forgot how many feet, but I mean, it was, could have been 100 feet up, straight up that cliff, with their heavy packs on their back and their rifles and their equipment and, all kinds of things, pulling them back as they climbed the ropes. They had arranged a rope netting to be able to climb up. And so they're exhausted by the time they get to the top of the hill, the cliff, but then they're going to have to engage in battle, even in that state of having dragged those backpacks up there. And so they had a couple of different skirmishes, or actually very bloody battles, unfortunately, and Doss turned out to be a hero. He was extremely loyal. He kept going in under fire to pull his fellow comrades to safety. And he saved 75 men and worked all through the night. I mean, there's one scene, and this is true. He was the only one working, that things had settled down and the enemy had retreated a bit. There was a standoff, and he was taking the men to get them down the hill and creating this cocoon with ropes to lower them one by one with his own physical strength, all night long working on that and letting him down the hill. And again, they had another battle, and it's really a tense and amazing kind of, putting you in the center of that experience. When I watched that movie, I was just amazed. But to honor a true hero and to understand what he went through was kind of worth some of the horrific scenes that were in the movie. Anyway, when they finally had resolved and they actually had won the battle, he came down the cliff, and they had a stretcher for him because he was exhausted, of course. And he actually refused the stretcher because there was one or two other men that needed that stretcher more. And he waited till he was the last person they carried out to be transported out of the scene. So there's a lesson there in terms of sticking to your values no matter what, in terms of fierce circumstances around us. And so we affirm that we are one in infinite spirit, source of all courage, and that we can remember in our own day-to-day circumstances that we have the power to demonstrate courage, amazing acts of courage. And when we talk about service, there's a story of, and you've probably heard many of the stories of Vietnam, and there was a book out on some of those stories. I took up the one story of Mike Christian, who was an Air Force pilot. He was in captivity for 7 years. Can you even imagine being in a small, damp environment, and the cells, were hardly livable, and 7 years in that place? So somewhere about midway, he was going out to take a sponge bath, because they had this cement tank that they could actually kind of do sponge baths. They couldn't even jump in the tub, so to speak, but use the water to clean themselves. And he was out near that tank, and he saw a little piece of grimy fabric on the floor or on the the terrain there, the dusty courtyard. He picked it up, took it back to his cell, and then the next day he was looking around for other things that he could salvage, and he found a piece of the tile roof had broken off and was laying in the courtyard, and he just picked up a little piece of that, put it in his pocket, took it back to the cell. He ground it up, and then he washed the little piece of cloth with some soap that he had brought back from the bathing area, cleaned it up, let it dry, and he ground up this powder that was in the roof tile and made a little square up in the top left of the piece of fabric. And then they gave them blue pills, some kind of dyed blue pills, that any kind of ailment they had to support them. And he ground that up and started making stripes on the pattern there. And then he pulled a little thread from his old grimy blanket and took a piece of bamboo, a sliver of bamboo, made a needle out of it, and sewed stars into the little square at the top, made a flag. And when he was going out into the courtyard, one morning very early, he waved the flag in front of the other cells, and so people could see them. And again, it must have been a very amazing moment, because, of course, the men saluted, and many of them cried when they saw that flag. Well, it wasn't long before the guards found that in a search of his cell and took him away, beat him ferociously, apparently all day. They just kept him in what they call the terror cell. And he came back, his eyes were swollen, he had lost his voice. It took him a couple of weeks to even recover, and he started looking again for something he could create that would be warming the hearts of his fellow men. A beautiful story from Vietnam, a beautiful story of service to his colleagues. And so we affirm, again, that infinite spirit is always there to guide us and to show us how we can do wonderful acts of service if we just go within and call that forth in us. And then in sacrifice, so many examples of sacrifice. And so bear with me as I talk about a couple of ones that touched my heart as I was reading them. And this is a story from Iraq. Sergeant Travis Akins. He was assigned to be in an observation post to just overlook a village in Iraq and just make sure that there was calm and peace. And he's making sure that there were a lot of suicide bombers and snipers and other potential dangers out there. So that's what his job was, to look through the binoculars, scan the town. And he saw a couple of men walking down the road who were exhibiting some kind of suspicious behavior that raised his red flags, his alarm buttons. And he got a couple of guys, got in a car, drove down the road to confront the two people. And one of the individuals was responding in an aggressive, belligerent way, so he decided he wanted to search this person. And as he began to search him, it turned into a hand-to-hand battle there, and he tried to wrestle him to the ground, and he saw the guy go under his blanket that he was covered with, and he realized that he probably had a bomb. So he gave him a big bear hug and just pulled him on the ground away from his other men, and the bomb went off. It was strapped to the man's body, and this killed the Sergeant Atkins. And so we hold the many incidents like that in our heart, because there were many incidents like that. There's another one that I thought was particularly poignant because it happened in Somalia. And this was poignant because the team who went into Somalia early on in their civil war was there to provide a mission to feed the hungry, because the I guess they were called warlords that took over the country were taking all the money, and all of the resources were scarce, and people were starving and are still starving in Somalia, which is still having a civil war. So the U.S. soldiers there were doing a mission of peace, and it was called Operation Hope. And what happened there is that a man named Gary Gordon, a master sergeant, was on a helicopter team, and there were 3 helicopters going to be landing to provide some of the food and resources, and he was part of the group that would protect the other 2 helicopters. The 2 helicopters behind him were shot down, crashed, and his helicopter made it in. He jumped out with his 2 or 3 guys who were with him, went to set up a perimeter around the crash site so that they could protect any survivors in those 2 other helicopters. He had to maneuver himself through sort of a shantytown village where there were other snipers, and great danger, that he was just showing such bravery of moving around to put himself in a position. There were supposed to be ground troops there to protect, but they just didn't get there in time. So he is just making do with the amount of ammunition he has and what he can do to support. And at a point, he realizes he's running out of ammunition. He gives the rifle to one of the pilots of that crashed helicopter and says, "Here, protect yourself. I'm going to get to a clearing where I can radio in and get us help." And unfortunately, he didn't make it. He went out to make the call and then was shot. And all of these stories, these men received Medals of Honor posthumously. But there are just thousands of men and women that we honor today with that kind of bravery, with that kind of courage, with that kind of commitment to serve and protect. And so we affirm, in terms of sacrifice, knowing that Infinite Spirit is really the source of eternal life. And so we have faith that as we move into the next phase of life and leave this planet, that sometimes we have made maybe a soul contract to be the one to show how horrible and unuseful war might be. And that is one way I was able to kind of accept my 19-year-old nephew, who I remember living in California, and he called me. He was all excited, Aunt Betty, I'm going to join the Marines. And I just shivered when I heard that, because he was a very sensitive young man, and very intelligent. And he was kind of small and wiry. He did wrestling in high school, and he had 2 buddies who were big and tough guys who were ready to go to the Marines, and he wanted to prove he could do it too. He wanted to fit in with his his friends. And his friends got to go to Hawaii. They were based in Hawaii and Guam. He went to Guantanamo Bay. And he only lasted about 3 months there. And he held back a bullet that he had used, was in his gun on guard duty. He was supposed to turn it in, and he took his own life because he had been harassed too and didn't fit in very well in that kind of environment. But I honor him today, and I know we all have our stories, of our families. And actually, it's so funny, when I was researching all these stories, I didn't even think about my dear, sweet nephew, Marty. But last night, it came to me in a dream, and so I thought I'd share that with you today. And so in closing, I'm going to read the words to taps, which is played, of course, at military funerals. Day is done, gone the sun, from the lakes, from the hills, from the sky. All is well. Safely rest. God is nigh. Fading light dims the sight, and a star gems the sky, gleaming bright from afar. Drawing nigh falls the night. Thanks and praise for our days, 'neath the sun, 'neath the stars, 'neath the sky. And as we go, this we know: God is nigh. God is just a thought away, a breath away, and we give thanks. So it is.
Thank you, Betty. That was beautiful. MK, would you like to come up? And we're going to do a beautiful song, fun song for everybody to light music. How sweet it is to be loved by you.
Join us, Secretary.
How sweet it is to be loved by God. Needed the shelter of someone's arms. There you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs. There God was. Where sweet love and devotion deeply touching my emotion. I want to stop. Thank you, Spirit. I just want to stop. Thank you, Spirit. How sweet it is to be loved by God. How sweet it is to be loved by God. Close my eyes at night, wondering what would I do without God in my life. Everything I did before was just a bore. Every place I went, it seems I've done been there before. But you brighten up for me all of my days. The love's so sweet in so many ways. I want to stop. Thank you, Spirit. I just want to stop. Thank you, Spirit. How sweet it is to myself. To me, there is God, and there ain't nobody else. I want to stop. Thank you, Spirit. I just want to stop. Thank you, Spirit. How sweet it is to be loved by God. How sweet it is to be loved by God. Come on, help me out. Oh, how sweet it is to be loved by God. How sweet it is to be loved by love, to be loved, to be truly, truly loved. How sweet it is to be loved by God. Well now, well now, well now, well now, well now.
How sweet it is to be loved by God.
It's like honey to the bee, baby.
How sweet it is to be loved by God.
Oh, you know what it feels like. Yeah, how sweet it is to be loved by God. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so I'd like to call the chaplains up. Who's here today on the chaplain team? Coming forward. Yes. So Virginia and Jackie and Amy, these are your chaplains, and they'll be standing here after the service, ready to serve you. If you would like prayer, I encourage you to come and sit in the front row over here, and they'll find you and take you off to a little spot somewhere quiet and pray with you. So we bless them as they bless us, and we thank you, chaplains. Yeah. And we remind us of the opportunity for giving. Giving is a beautiful spiritual practice, being generous, and we embody God's abundance of more than enough to enjoy, to spare, and to share. And so let's hang on a second. Thank you. And chaplains, I do have one other announcement, so if you want to just, I'd like to call Matthew Starcher up. Reverend Matthew, come on. And I wanted to just announce that Matthew's contract has concluded here, and so the job that he's been serving in for about a year, assistant minister, is going to be eliminated because we're doing some rearranging and changes through this time of transition. And so Matthew's not gone, though. We're going to see what kinds of things he might want to do. He's been doing some beautiful things with prayer work and other activities, and so we'll be talking about what that looks like and let you know. And he's certainly still a member of the congregation, and so we love him. I just wanted us to bless him this morning as well. And we have a cake for him in fellowship, so come and join us, and we have the opportunity for you to write some messages for Matthew, too, in the fellowship hall afterwards, so thank you. Stay after.
I would like to just share with you that 18 years ago, and 7 ministries ago, I stepped foot for the first time into a Unity church, and that was First Unity in St. Petersburg, where Reverend Temple Hayes would become a mentor, a teacher, a colleague, and then a friend. I share this with you not to impress you, but to impress upon you that my work will continue. So just know that in your heart. Let's operate from that space. And let's all continue the work. God bless you and thank you. I love each and every one of you. You've all managed to make a way into my heart. The door's wide open, and I have a commitment to relationships, and my relationship will continue. You got my card? On my card is my personal cell phone. So just know that. Know that if I still, from that first ministry, if any of you remember Ann Sardoni, who come to help with the children from a while ago, she was from that point 18 years ago. She held my hand into that church. So it continues. So the journey continues. God bless you. Love you all.
Peace song, yeah.
The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is